Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And today we are talking about a spooky, scary episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. What is it? It's season 6 episode something or other. It is called Who Got Dee Pregnant? And at the end of last week's episode, I predicted that this would not be... Seventh episode, season 6, episode 7. So I predicted that this would not be super scary. And I was wrong. It's horrifying. This is very scary.
Yeah. I was trying to go with it and think of something that was particularly frightening.
I guess the idea of Dennis having a kid is pretty scary.
That's true.
So it's not. It isn't scary. It's about it's a whodunit where the mystery is not a murder. It's a pregnancy, which you might have guessed from the title of the episode, Who Got Dee Pregnant? And it takes place mostly at a Halloween party. So that was very fun to me and very nostalgic.
Mm-hmm. Most of it, and I was gonna say it starts off not at the Halloween party, so a lot of it's just recalling a night.
And piecing together a night, right? Because the Halloween party is a flashback. This is months later, and we're trying to piece together the events of that fateful Halloween party. But everybody was incredibly drunk, and so we're all telling stories and corroborating pieces and trying to determine the facts based on drunken, hazy memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I don't have that's a great summary.
Thank you.
I thought it was a fun one. Every one of the ones we've done for TV has been fun.
Yeah, this has been a delightful little series we're doing, I think. I'm excited for what comes next. What comes next is which one are we
Halloween
doing?
Tree.
Yay!
Yeah. Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, but it is a Cartoon Network original Halloween special. Halloween TV special.
With Leonard Nimoy as the narrator.
Ray Bradbury's the narrator.
Oh,
Leonard Nimoy is Count Mountroud.
Yes, Mountroud. Thank you.
It's not Count Mountroud. It's just Mountroud. Anyway, guys, watch it.
Yeah, it's gonna be super fun.
Yeah. I feel like we're about to just launch into talking about Halloween Tree, which we should backpedal. Let's talk about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So, Kelly, how much have It's Always Sunny have you watched prior to us watching this episode?
I watched up until the end of season 12, I want to say. There was a point where it looks like Dennis is going to leave the show.
Oh.
And my understanding is he comes back or didn't actually leave. But that's where I ended up stopping. But just because that happened to be when I watched all of Always Sunny for the first time was that was the last season that had come out. So I binged everything and then I just never revisited it as the seasons continued. So that's where I stopped, but I really loved it.
What season is it on now?
I couldn't tell you. I know that at some point, and maybe it continues to be the case, it was the longest running sitcom ever.
Oh, interesting. 165 episodes. It is on season 17.
Oh,
16? Shit. No, hold on. Season 15 was the last one that had any episodes, and that was in 2021. But it does show 16, 17, and 18 as available, so I think the expectation is it will continue.
Oh, so it's been renewed. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only seen...
And is Glenn Howerton still in those last ones?
That's a great question. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He is aging like a fine wine, but we can get into that later. What was your experience with Always Sunny?
So I've only watched 2 seasons. I think that what happened was there was no reason for me to stop.
Mhm.
I think that life got in the way.
Yeah.
It was my baseline TV show, which is the one that I continue to have on in the background at all times. Or like
Mm.
whenever I'm doing stuff, if I go brush my teeth, I watch 5 minutes of it, and then I like will go do something else, and
Yeah, I
to
think
keep the
you
demons away.
yes,
Um,
exactly. I use podcasts like that. I use
yeah.
it. I say that I use them like a speech jammer for my thoughts. Like we just got to
Mhm.
cut those bad boys off. You described this concept in a previous episode as your in transit TV show, and I
That's it.
really
Yeah.
liked that description.
Yeah. In transit. So that's like it's when I'm doing stuff to get to somewhere else. So like I do use podcasts whenever I'm like driving because I'm
Mm.
not going to watch TV. There was a time in my life where I would put on a TV show on my phone and then put it in my pocket and just listen
Yeah,
to the
just listen.
dialogue.
Yeah.
I
Some
don't
shows are
do
better
that
for that
anymore.
than others. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I don't have to see what's going on. If one has a fight scene and you're just listening to people grunt and stuff, and you're
Bam,
like, okay,
pow.
okay.
Shoo, shoo, shoo.
Are we listening? Is that a TV show in the 50s? Do you think that's my in transit show? But this was a good one to watch. And I think I'll probably pick it back up after this. I think that I just forgot it. It's like not in front of me, so I forgot.
Yeah.
It was one that I watched pretty well for a while, and my brother is a huge fan, and he quotes it all the time. He mostly talks about milk steak.
Milk steak. Is that
Mhm.
a McPoyle thing?
What? What's the McPoyle?
The McPoyles are the weirdos
No,
that
is
they
it?
visit in
I
this
think
episode.
Charlie
They're
talks
always
about
drinking
milk.
milk. They're always drinking milk. I don't
I
know.
think there's one where they cook a milk steak, which is cooking boiling a steak in milk.
That's disgusting.
You're not wrong.
That does sound like Charlie, though. You're right.
Yeah. So, ugh.
See,
I think about it pretty often.
That seems nice and wholesome. I've got some friends who reference the show all the time, but specifically that episode. Maybe you haven't seen it since you only watched
Is it the
a couple
one where they do
seasons.
crack? Wait, no, they do drugs.
No.
Is it the one? Okay,
No,
I've
it's
heard a bunch of
the-
references of that one. I've watched that one.
It's the one where they have a boat and
Oh, I don't.
they talk about. It's gross. So
Most
Dennis,
of them are, right?
Glenn, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Wasn't the
so
premise
for-
of the show to make it like just completely not likable? It was supposed to be a sitcom of not likable characters that are doing
it was
horrible
supposed
things.
to be like the antithesis to Friends.
Yeah,
like what if the
yeah.
cast of Friends was like garbage people? And boy, did they nail it.
Yeah, so good, so perfect.
so good. And
But somehow I still love them, but I hate them. I hate what they do. I hate what they do, but I still love them.
which is like truly amazing that they were able to pull that off,
yeah.
right? Like that's bonkers.
I'm like, this is the worst choice you could possibly make in any situation.
I know.
Every time.
So there's an episode where they have a boat and Dennis specifically is talking about like getting women out to the boat and he's not willing. So this is one of those situations where I'm going to describe the joke and people unfamiliar with the show are going to be like, that's horrible. And I just want to be clear that like, that's the point. Like it is horrible. And we are supposed to be like it's funny because the creators and the actors also know that it's horrible. I don't know, whatever. It's horrible. This joke, the premise of the joke is let's get women out to this boat and we won't say that we are like kidnapping them, but they will be more inclined to give us sex because of the implications of being out at sea on a boat where you can't escape. And so the implications is like
God.
the tagline from the show.
Yeah, I've
and
heard
so
that then. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's not good people. But boy, is it funny.
Yeah. It is. And this episode, I don't want to be like in particular because it has a really high rating, but it doesn't stand out too much against their other episodes, in my opinion. I think that they're all just as funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one is this show as a whole very high ratings across the board, I would imagine.
I hope so. This had a 9.1.
9.1.
What? Is this AOL?
Yeah, 9.1.
Cool. Okay, I'm killing it today. Yeah, it would be weird if it wasn't high across the board. Unless they just get super not funny later, but it's every episode I've watched has been pretty fucking funny.
So when you watched those first seasons, you started at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it go downhill?
No. I think it goes uphill.
You think it goes uphill? Oh,
I think it goes
good.
uphill. Yeah, those early seasons I think that they do it a little less well in those early seasons.
Oh,
like in
interesting.
the early season, yes, still very funny and they're still horrible, but I think that they become more likable over time. And so it's like easier to engage with them. Like, I don't know. And maybe this is
I mean, you said something positive about Dennis, but I haven't come around on Dennis.
Oh no,
yet,
Dennis gets worse. So okay, let me tell you Dennis's broad story arc because it is so masterful. I love the way that they do this. So in those early seasons, Dennis is like the most normal seeming among them, right? Like he's the way I remember it, at least, is that he's sort of like he's the one running the bar, really, and like he is like the most normal among them. Like you imagine like meeting Charlie and you're like, what the fuck is
all over
up
the
with
place.
this guy? And so Dennis seems the most normal at the beginning, but his character gets weirder and weirder and I think at some point he is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Oh, interesting.
Because he's like super manipulative and very narcissistic and like builds all of these elaborate plans and I was going to say schemes, but that's not really right. What I'm thinking of specifically is he has this like method of dating women. It's called like the Dennis system and it's an acronym and whatever. I don't know. He's very focused on manipulating people. And
sounds great.
It becomes a running joke that he is maybe a serial killer.
Oh.
So they just like lean in to him getting like weirder and more intimidating as the show goes on.
Well, I'm so excited to keep going with it.
It's super funny. And the way I remembered that bit being is that they introduced it in like much later seasons, but I watched a couple episodes after Who Got Dee Pregnant and they were doing it in season 6. There were like serial killer jokes as early as season 6. And I was like, did I not notice them? How early do they start? Was this the plan from the beginning? So yeah, I think I'm going to have to rewatch this show too.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to end up carrying on after season 12?
Yeah, I think
you know what,
so.
You guys, sorry, this is actually going to change too, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast. So tune in next week when we review the next episode. Just kidding.
Well,
yeah,
we'll find out.
We might have like little snippets where we talk about where we're at, and It's Always Sunny. So we'll see. I don't know. We both need something funnier in our lives right now, so this is probably a good call. I'm trying to watch. Do you have any other? Oh, what's your in transit podcast right now?
Right now I am catching up on. So the way I listen to podcasts is I like to queue up a backlog. Like I don't want to bounce around to different podcasts throughout the day. I want to like put one on and let it play. So my favorite podcasts have like 10 years of history because I can just make that decision once and then don't have to think about it again for 7 months until I re-listen to all of it. So I just finished a re-listen of Last Podcast on the Left, and that genuinely took like 10 months to get through.
Yeah.
So now I'm working my way through the backlogs of the other podcasts that I follow. And that's not 10 years. That's the 10 months that I spent listening to Last Podcast. So what I just finished listening to is the bonus content for Stop Podcasting Yourself. I'm like, they don't do Patreon because they predated Patreon. So they have this other system.
Okay.
That is essentially the same thing. I pay a little every month and get bonus content in return. And when you mentioned we'll be will turn this into an Always Sunny podcast, it made me think of their bonus content because
Is
right
it
now
it's Always Sunny?
it's not Always Sunny, but they are watching Mr. Bean through.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So their bonus content, the podcast within a podcast, is called Bean There Done That. And they just
Oh, thank God.
and they just like go through every episode of Mr. Bean.
I just feel like the world's a better place right now knowing that that exists. I'm so happy.
I highly recommend it. Y'all, this is a Maximum Fun podcast. That's the name of the podcast network. And you should donate during Max Fun Con so that you can get access to the bonus content and listen to Bean There Done That.
Holy shit.
It's so stupid. And like, I've never watched Mr. Bean.
Could there
Like,
be
I
like
know
a smart
him.
version of it? Could there be like a let's dissect it and really talk intellectually about how Mr. Bean is interacting with the world, how he is
Maybe
moving
they
through
do.
in existence? Is there ever like a discussion about like psychology and existentialism and how
Okay.
Mr. Bean relates to everything around him?
Not quite, but it does sort of approach that. And I
Oh,
want to get your
wow.
take on it because what's your experience with Mr. Bean?
I vaguely remember movies. He had movies
He had
that came out.
one movie, I think.
Okay, I think I watched the movie,
Okay.
but I know,
I know Rowan Atkinson.
yeah.
I know he stole that guy's
And I know that
girlfriend
shtick.
and the age dynamic is wrong.
What? I did not know
And-
that.
Yeah.
Googling now.
And he, Rowan Atkinson has now said stuff about cancel culture and how you can't make any jokes
No.
anymore. But that's fine. Set that aside. Let's focus on the Bean. So I had never watched any of it. I know him as a character. Like, I've seen clips. Clips is maybe not even right. I've seen GIFs.
Okay.
Like, I understood the concept of Mr. Bean broadly. My understanding from this podcast is that we don't really know Mr. Bean's whole deal.
Oh.
So he doesn't talk much. One of the bits in this podcast is one of the hosts counts up the number of words he says each episode.
Oh.
And I think the highest we've seen is 40 words. And so he doesn't talk much. He's got a weird voice when he does. And he doesn't seem to understand basic concepts, Mr. Bean.
Oh. Yeah. Yep.
And apparently at the start of the episode, he's like dropped in like a beam of light. And so
What?
I don't know. I haven't seen this.
Have I never
This
watched
is
it? So this is a British TV show, right? Am I making
yes,
this
it's
up? Okay.
British. Yeah.
Is there an American equivalent to Mr. Bean? Who's the American equivalent?
I always pair it in my head with Ernest, but
Oh.
I don't know if
Aw.
that's right.
It always reminded me of what was that movie, Rocket Man?
With Harlan Williams?
Yeah, that's it. He reminded me of Harlan Williams, but I don't know why that paired together in my head.
I
Because they're both
think-
just overly ridiculous.
Oh, I think it might even be more specific than that. I feel like Harlan Williams does a voice that is like the Mr.
Maybe.
Bean voice.
That might be true.
I think one of his character voices. So yeah, one of the running bits on this podcast is, what is Mr. Bean's deal and is he an alien?
Have they come to a conclusion?
No, not yet, but they're only on episode 5 and there are 14. So we've got time. We've got time to grow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. Yeah, our podcast
Please
within a
do.
podcast is my recap of another podcast about a TV show that none of us have seen.
Oh, it sounds perfect. I
Listeners,
love it.
write in if you like this idea at No Show Monster.
Yeah, I love it. So I will create a Twitter account, and
More Bean content.
I do have a Twitter account, but I have no idea. I have to change my password. I haven't logged into it, and
Oh, I tag you and stuff all the time.
I know, and I have been I will go to Google and look at our Twitter sometimes, and I see that you tag me, and I'm like, should probably log into that account.
I know you're not there, but I also don't want to just be
I'm
like, me and
pretty sure-
Chelsea, no tag.
I'm like 30% sure, 50% sure. I don't know. If you go into it, I think that I just did it to make a comment about a Tosh.0 episode.
Oh my God. So
And,
this would have
like,
been like 2010?
9. Yeah,
maybe?
something
Yeah.
around there. And that's when I made it. And I made the comment. It was like the first episode of Tosh.0. And then he like, did they
And then
retweet?
he did, yeah.
He did
I don't know.
retweet me or something. He already said something about,
Oh.
yeah. And I was like, oh, but he wasn't famous at the but it made me feel good. And then I never used Twitter again. So that's why I created my Twitter at the beginning. And then I have not touched it since.
Love that. Love that.
So I should come back. I should come back.
No, don't. You're out. You're
I'm
out,
out.
dude.
Okay,
You're
okay,
already
perfect.
out. Don't worry about it.
Okay, let's get back on track. Back on track. Okay. So let's get into the episode. So we start and we're all at the bar and getting really excited about a night at the museum.
Yeah.
In which it's just the dudes going. Dee is going to stay behind, but they are all going to go. I have no idea what happened in the last episode. I don't know if it even leads into this or it has anything to do with what's happening in this episode, but they're going to go stay the night at a museum. And they get really excited because they assume everything's going to come alive at night.
Yeah.
So they get really
I don't
psyched
think
about
that
it.
that's a carryover from the last episode. The
Good.
episodes are usually pretty discreet.
That's
Like, I
interesting.
even think that this is the episode where we learn that Dee is pregnant. I don't think that we knew that before this.
I appreciate everything about this show for these reasons.
And that's funny, listeners, because she's like very
She's
clearly
showing.
hella pregnant.
Yeah. And I think it is because the actress was pregnant at the time. Like,
yeah, it's hers and Rob McElhaney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real
and
life, because they're
married. What's her name? Caitlin Olsen.
yes.
And Rob McElhaney plays Mac in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a couple. And when she gives birth, the baby has a cameo.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
Aw. Oh.
No, it's cute.
Okay.
It's wholesome.
I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know how it would have gone because this show really does not
No, they
put
they
anything
do
in a
it well.
good light. Okay.
They do a good job. They do a good job. I won't spoil it for you since you're going to watch it, but they do a good job.
Okay, good. I am really looking forward to watching it. Anyway, so now they're about to go to the museum. Super
Mhm.
excited. Dee makes fun of them a little bit because they're psyched about going because they think everything is going to come alive at night. And they try to make fun of her for eating because she's been eating a lot lately. And then she just says it's because I'm pregnant and one of you is the father.
Yep.
So now this is where exactly what Kelly was saying. It turns into a who done it or who did it or who banged it. I don't know. So then they're like, oh God, one of us is the father. So, I mean, at that point, you assume there are two options, which are Charlie and Mac,
Yeah.
maybe Frank. But I mean, I don't want to like.
Oh, so
I
okay,
would
I
not
have a
have been
question.
shocked on that one.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So, for the listener, the reason we assume that it's one of them is because Frank is Dee's father and Dennis is Dee's brother.
Oh, Frank is Dee's father. Okay, that's where I get.
But I can't remember. Like, I know he raised them.
Is he blood
from-
father?
That's my question. I can't remember if it's biological.
I think it is because he talks about the mom whenever he comes in. I don't know why I just completely blanked out that he was their father. I just thought it was an old guy that hung out with them. But I did watch the first two seasons where he gets introduced and he's like, "Oh God, Frank is here."
And Frank is
Danny DeVito. The
Danny
greatest,
DeVito. Thank you.
of
Love
all-
him.
The greatest of all. Period.
He's so good. Did you hear the story of how he got involved in this show?
No. But
So
please
his, like,
tell me.
His kids, I think it was his kids, loved it. And so he just like contacted the show and was like, hey, can I be on it? And they were like, yes, yes. So now Danny DeVito is on Always Sunny.
And he's
as
on
like
it pretty early on. Like it's not.
Yeah. And like these aren't tiny cameos. Like he is one
a
of the
regular.
leading actors. Like, this is an
Holy
ensemble
shit.
cast, and
I had
he is
no
in
idea.
it. Yeah.
I'm so happy. I
Playing
always
this, like-
wondered. I was like, how did they get such a big name? And I was
Yeah.
like, maybe he's like friends with one of them.
Yeah, he
Oh
reached out.
my
I mean, and
God.
maybe he was friends with them, and so it was easy to reach out. But
that's
yeah, like,
That's awesome.
yep.
Oh, that makes my heart really warm. Can we just have, okay, so from an It's Always Sunny podcast, we are changing to, it's a We Love Danny DeVito podcast. Because he also, like, in Matilda, isn't there like a really heartwarming story about him taking care of the main actress?
Yeah, Mara Wilson. Yeah.
Like a lot of positivity around that. And he, directed the movie.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I either didn't know that or I didn't remember it. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, we love Danny DeVito.
we love Danny DeVito.
Fucking
And
love
he's
Danny
like,
DeVito.
he's truly so good. Like, have you read about his like activism?
No.
Yeah. So he's like genuinely very good. Like, he is very thoughtful and a careful listener. Like, I want to say, oh gosh, it's been a while since I read this wherever I read it. I do think that this was a proper article that I read for once in my goddamn life. But he was like, even like taking courses on like gender and race theory at like the university nearest his house, like just a few years ago. Like,
wow.
Famous Danny DeVito is like rolling into these classes just to like learn more and listen more. And
Wow.
so he's like truly really great. And that's so funny in contrast with his character Frank, because he's just a fucking scumbag in this show.
So scummy. So scummy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a delight.
For anybody who doesn't have context about how this show is, like, think of the worst thing a person could do, and they've done it on an episode, without a doubt in my mind. Like, all of the bad things that you think that people could do, I would say other than murdering someone, but it sounds like Dennis may have.
And they in an episode that I watched last night, a few episodes after Who Got Dee Pregnant, a hooker dies, and I'm using that word because that's the word they used in the show. Actually, Danny DeVito calls her a whore. He says whore funny. A whore. So this whore dies in Frank and Charlie's apartment, and instead of calling the police because Dee had smoked a little crack, they just move her into the hallway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they're not good.
Yeah,
they're
no.
not good.
Not one person in the show is somebody that you would want to call in a pinch, I would say.
No. If you can bargain with Frank, maybe Frank, but only because he's a millionaire.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so like maybe you can get him. It's probably not worth it, dude.
No, definitely not.
Like,
Danny DeVito, good.
Yes.
Frank, no.
Very bad.
No. And I was gonna say, we can go back into the episode. You might have more context around the other characters because I only vaguely know of some of them.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
So first we go through, and then she says it's one of you, and basically leaves the bar. And then they're sitting there, and then they're talking about how they don't really remember what happened on Halloween because Mac says, "Wait, was it Dennis? It was Mac, right? That he browned out."
Oh, that's Mac. Mac is saying browned out. And oh God, I don't want to derail us so early.
We should kind of derail us because I have a lot to say about this phrasing.
Okay. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And anytime I think of brown out, I think of like when he said browned out, I was like, oh, you shit yourself. That was my immediate. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's happened. Oh, well, no, that's not what you meant. Okay, that's fine.
They do double down, and I think that they did make poop jokes
in the episode.
Like during that conversation, because then
I tried
Dennis
to
is
catch
like,
poop jokes, and I did not catch them, and I was a little bummed.
Were they gay jokes?
I mean, that makes sense. That tracks for the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. It did feel like they were talking about buttholes.
Yeah,
God,
because when
do
you
I
hear
have
brown
a weird
down, I think.
obsession with buttholes?
Not to plug my significant other's YouTube channel for the millionth time. I am going to be in Ryan's most recent video, and at some point,
Your butthole?
my butthole will not be in it. But Petty did walk up to the camera and then face me, and then I had to cover it.
So
and I was like,
his
"Butthole cut. We're not
butthole.
ready for the butthole cut yet." And I think he's leaving it in. So, so everyone, check out Ryan Tate Art on YouTube to see the not butthole cut. The not butthole cut.
Release it. Release the butthole cut.
I think this episode will come out before that video. It might come out around the same time. I think it's going to be ready by next week.
It's fine. It's all part of the Never Show the Monster like universe at this point.
Just the butthole cuts everywhere. And I mean, it exists in Davey Buddies. It's in Never Show the Monster, and we have it.
It was in Vague Idea. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is why I was just doing reflection. Am I obsessed with buttholes?
Just the butthole cut. You just want
I think
want the option.
word.
You want the option. Like it's not that you need the butthole. You just want the option.
I really do want to see the butthole cut of cats. So bad.
There are enough people behind you that I think one day behind.
Yeah, we got to work on that hashtag.
Should it be like shortened? Should you guys become like a QAnon type? Like have something specific? BHC. We're asking for the BHC. Hashtag BHC.
Or
so we're gonna have to put hashtag BHC on every tweet now.
Can you do special characters in a hashtag? Could it just be hashtag
Peach?
asterisk?
Oh,
it's butthole.
Yeah, that is. Asterisk.
That's probably hard. That's probably hard to index. Okay, well, we'll work on that.
You could do the little cheeks.
Yeah, you could do open paren, close paren, asterisk, open paren, close paren.
You have to do a space if you want the butt cheeks to be full. But I was saying open paren, butthole. I mean asterisk. Close paren. So like it's the crack. Simpler. Why on every podcast we turn into something, it goes into a deep description of someone's business. Anyway, so then they start talking about what happened that night, and they have the brownout, and it starts off.
Just to be clear, we are 45 minutes in, so we're already longer than this episode, and we are in the first scene.
So thank you guys for joining us today. We are losing it. If you notice in the last couple episodes, Kelly and I have slowly been going downhill, and this is the hill that we're rolling down. So here we are. Now, the first person to talk about the night is...
Yes.
Dennis or Charlie?
It's Dennis. Dennis is first.
And then he ends up talking about how everyone's there. He's dressed as... He's pissed off at Mac because Mac came in and he wasn't dressed as Mario because they agreed to go as Mario and Luigi. Yeah. And he is dressed as Luigi. And Mac is dressed as what he thinks is Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, but it is not. He does have a bow and arrow.
Aragorn? It's Aragorn.
Aragorn?
You're the one who knows Lord of the Rings, not me.
I do, but it's
whatever.
It's
Viggo Mortensen, but he keeps. What does he say?
He calls him a knot.
Yeah, no, he cannot get the name right. And on top of that, so he's getting the name Viggo Mortensen wrong. And on top of that, he thinks that Viggo Mortensen is the character name.
Yep. It's going real well. Well, just to let you guys know.
Well.
Yeah. So he ends up, he's talking about how, this is what you end up going as. And then Charlie comes in. He's dressed as the Phantom of the Opera. But then he describes his outfit and why he chose it because women like vampires and he's trying to be a vampire. And he was like, that's not a fucking vampire.
Dracula bit.
And he's like, that's not a vampire, man.
We love it.
And then he stares at, like, Dee comes in and it is Aragorn. But I can't remember what the name that he calls It's like Vigo or something.
It's
Anyway,
Vigo. Yeah.
Vigo and Morgenstern. He does say Morgenstern
Okay.
or something
Great.
like that. But he ends up, no, it's not him. So Charlie, they're all together hanging out, and then Dee comes out and she's dressed as an angel with very large wings. And they kind of give her a bunch of shit and call her a bird. And then
that's a running bit. They call her a bird through the show.
Oh, yeah. And they were like, why did you wear those wings? Why have you worn these wings? And then there's a girl who's a peacock, and then everyone's like, that peacock is sexy as fuck. And that's a
that
big
was
focus.
so funny because poor Dee was like, I'm not a bird, I'm an angel. Look at that girl. She's a bird. Haha, let's make fun of her. But then all the guys are like, ooga, ooga.
Yeah. And then Dennis is like, I'm gonna go after that girl. That girl is that's who I've laid my eyes on for the evening. And I can't remember if he tells more of the story or if it moves on to Charlie's retelling.
He tells a little more. So Dennis goes over and approaches the peacock and is being a skis, and she is not having it. She is not interested in this. And Dennis thinks that it is because of his costume. He's blaming his costume, not his personality. And so she like blows him off and walks away. And then Charlie comes over to Dennis and is crying. And he's saying like, my costume is too sexy. My costume is too sexy. She like jumped me and she like took advantage of me. And Glenn is like, okay, well, sorry, Glenn Howerton is the actor. Dennis is like, let's swap costumes. Let's swap then. You can be Luigi instead, and then you won't be harassed anymore. So then it like flashes back to, or I guess flashes forward in time to the present tense in the bar. And Dennis is like, oh, well, it must have been you, Charlie. Like, it must have been Dee who harassed you. She thought your costume was too sexy, and that's why you were crying, because Dee made you have sex with her. And Charlie, now it's Charlie's story.
So then Charlie remembers crying, but he said he cried out of joy, I think. And then he is talking about how what ended up happening was he is dressed as the Phantom of the Opera, and then the waitress that he's in love with comes in with her boyfriend, they're also dressed as characters of Phantom of the Opera, and he punches.
Were they both the Phantom?
Yeah, but it sounded like he was like sent her like an invitation or something. It sounded like there was something that was like, hey, dress as this person or something like that.
Baby. Yeah, it's
so very
funny.
Vague at what happens.
It's so funny though, because he holds the cape open like he's the Phantom, and he's like, so you got my invitation. Yeah, like it's very dramatic. He's very funny.
And she's there with a boyfriend, and Charlie does not like this, and he starts to try to start a fight, and then he's like, Mac, back me up. And then he ends up, in Charlie's mind, punching the guy, and then the waitress is like, oh my God, that's so hot, that's so masculine, and then makes out with him. And that's the crying because of the happiness of him feeling that way about the waitress making out with him.
He loves the waitress.
He does, very much so.
And she's not like a waitress at this party. Like we call her, that's her character name, the waitress, throughout the show. And did you know that she and Charlie are married in real life?
I did know that.
Isn't
it's
that
super
sweet?
Cute. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were married. Were they married prior?
I think so, but I'm not 100% on that. But I love
when I
that.
started watching the shows, I looked her up because I was like, oh, she's kind of familiar, so I wanted to see who she was.
Yeah, she's recognizable. Yeah.
And then I saw that they were married, and I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Love it. But I do just want to point out that in this story, Charlie was hanging out with the McPoyles.
Yes.
And they're like a pair of weirdos who are recurring characters, and we'll learn more about them shortly.
And in that story with the McPoyles, he is talking about like burying the hatchet and everything's okay and they're not fighting. I don't remember what happened previously, but it seems
No,
like
I don't
they're
remember
in.
any of that.
But I think
either.
that happens pretty consistently with them. Like they're always fighting or they're always at odds with them.
Oh, but the thing about the McPoyles is they love milk, which is what we were
Mhm.
talking about earlier. So the McPoyles are over here drinking milk while Charlie is talking to them. And then when the fight happens, the milk gets like splattered on Dee in her angel costume.
Yes.
And she yells. And that's just going to be like a plot point.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, I think that's most we get from Charlie's story.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes back, and then Frank is like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what happened. I remember what happened, and that's not what happened. And then we find out that what actually happens is, I think that Frank's lady, Artemis, wants to make Frank jealous. So at some point, instead of making out with the waitress, he actually makes out with Artemis.
Yeah. And Artemis like jumps his bones according to this story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why he was crying. He was I guess assaulted because she like is very assertive and Charlie's a little timid guy. And she did not ask consent. But the reason like Frank interrupts Charlie's story, the reason he interjects is because so far we have seen Frank dressed as Spider-Man. And Frank is like,
so
no,
sorry,
I was man spider. It's better. So
you see him as both Spider-Man and man spider. And that was my favorite part of the episode was the costume change between those two. I know in the episode we obsessively talked about the costumes, but this costume change
is so funny.
Chef's kiss on that one. It was perfect. I was so happy about that.
I also loved that Frank spends the first like 2 minutes of his story talking about how he and Artemis recently had sex in a dumpster.
Oh, and she used a bun.
And she used, a bun in creative ways. And he's just like talking to these kids about they're adults at this point, but he's much older, about his like weird dumpster sex life.
That's sweet.
So then they talk to Artemis. They want to get her story. Let's fill in these details more. And they reuse the same bit. She also starts with like talking about the dumpster sex and the bun and how creative it is. She's like, I just want to give you guys tips. I felt that it was very pioneering. And if you want to be creative, you have got to start thinking outside of the box.
This is the first time I met Artemis as a character. I really love her.
I liked her a lot,
like the energy she brings.
I did not remember her though, so I don't think that she's long lived. Yeah.
Oh damn. That's all right. I'm excited to watch her again.
But yeah, she was very funny.
So then after that, she describes the story, and then she says that whenever Matt came to back up Charlie, he ends up punching the guy, and his fist is bleeding. So he goes into the bathroom, and then Dee is upset about the milk, and then she goes into the bathroom. But her and Frank were going to go have sex in the bathroom. But somebody was already having sex in the bathroom, and it was Dee, and it was
Mac. Yeah. Artemis is like, Mac, it's you. You had sex with Dee. You're the father. I heard the sweet, sweet sounds of lovemaking.
After that, we do hear Mac's side of the story, which does not correspond with that, and he is ashamed of what did transpire. So it turned out that in the bathroom, when he went in, also, I do want to point out that in his version of the story, Dee is a full-on ostrich.
It's so funny.
Does not say words, just makes ostrich sounds, but it fits so fucking well that it's so upsetting.
Like he responds to the ostrich as though it's Dee. He's like, well, I don't have time to listen to your problems or whatever. But the ostrich sound fucking killed me.
It was perfect.
Because I guess I don't know what
ostrich
large
something?
birds. I don't know what they sound like. But I didn't expect it to be
perfect.
This.
You didn't expect it to sound exactly like Dee.
But my favorite favorite part was the ostrich just makes like one long sustained note. Like Mac is trying to wash his hands and the ostrich is like, ah. just one noise.
It was perfect. This was my favorite part of the entire episode.
Agreed.
And I could rewatch this part.
So good.
So you guys, at least this scene, 10 out of 10, go watch this part.
Oh God. Like my stomach hurts from laughing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Funny.
And then behind the stall is Margaret McPoyle, who is the sister of the McPoyle brothers that we saw earlier drinking the milk. She is deaf and mute.
Oh, is she?
I think so. And that is one
she
of the fun
definitely
facts
doesn't
there.
say anything. No, she can't be mute because later in the. I'm sorry, she can't be deaf.
She can't be
because
deaf.
later
She
in the.
Maybe she's just a mute. I don't know.
Maybe she
Maybe
definitely
I'm
doesn't say
wrong. I did
anything.
read some trivia, and that I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong.
I could also be wrong. I was just thinking that one of the McPoyles later is like, Margaret's
Call
still
her.
waiting for a call.
See, that was a joke because she is that way. That's why I read the trivia because that was the joke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, oh yeah, she's weird. She's a weird
Anyway,
one, huh?
she does some stuff with her licking her lips. It's gross. And then they have sex. Shocking.
But it's so funny, even the way Mac responds. He's like,
Fine,
"Ugh,
let's
I
do
hate when you
this."
do that." When she's like licking her lips,
And he's like, is it sexual?
And then she does it again, and he's like, "Ugh,
Okay.
fine, fine."
So then he has to admit what has happened.
Wait, so does that mean that the sounds that Artemis heard were Mac? That wasn't Margaret.
Oh, yeah. That was Mac and Margaret.
No.
Mhm.
Oh, it's the show that keeps giving. It was
So
Mac
good.
making those noises.
And
Great. Excellent.
now they're like, oh, yeah, the McPoyles, they did not drink. They were stone sober. They only
We're
had
just drinking
milk.
that milk.
We got to go ask them what happens. And then they go see them, and it's gross. I think every interaction they ever have with them is pretty gross.
They're just gross.
Very gross. They mostly wear wife beaters and robes.
Yeah, bathrobes. All the time bathrobes.
They, like, when they come on screen, you can smell them.
Yeah.
weird.
They look sweaty.
Yeah.
And not like I was just out in the field sweaty, but like
I haven't showered
I
in a
haven't
while.
showered.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
There's like a sheen.
So we're with them. They're on the couch. They drink milk. And they tell them what happens that night, stone cold sober. So basically, what happens is at some point, Dee is super drunk and pissed off about how everyone hates her costume and it's covered in milk. So then she goes and she makes a bargain with the peacock. And she says,
Mhm.
look, bitch, I need this costume. You don't want to be hit on by Charlie anymore. I don't want to be in this outfit.
By Dennis. By Dennis.
Oh, by Dennis. See, that's the trick. Okay. Thank you. By Dennis. I don't want to be hit on by Dennis anymore. So let's switch costumes. They switch costumes. Fun fact, Peacock has a full-on face mask. You can't really see who it is.
Mhm.
She goes to the bathroom, changes, comes out, and then she grabs the Phantom of the Opera and goes into the back office. And that is what the McPoyles say. Is it the Poyles? McPoyles?
McPoyles, yeah.
It's
And they're
Philadelphia.
like,
Or it's Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh.
yeah. They're like,
Mick.
you
Yeah, Poyles. Gotcha.
you fucked Charlie.
And then they were like, oh, it wasn't Charlie.
It wasn't Charlie.
Because Luigi and Charlie switched. And then that was the moment that we know that it was Dennis.
It was Dennis.
And then Dennis proceeds to vomit and not stop vomiting for a good couple hours.
Yeah, there is a joke here because the fucking McPoyles are disgusting. It's so quick, and I wasn't sure if I heard it right, and I did not rewind, so I want to see if you caught it. Dennis is like, I'm gonna throw up, and he gets up to go do that, and Jimmy, my fave McPoyle, goes, "Don't flush."
Oh my God, gross. I did not notice that. Oh my God, but it checks out. I feel like I heard some things and I was like, what does that mean? And now that you say it, oh my God.
Because he does tack it on at the end. I think he's like, bathrooms down the hall to the left, don't flush.
Oh.
Gross. And I didn't want to rewind in case that came from my brain. So if I made that up, do not write in.
We'll keep it. We'll keep it. Forever that will be protected. We can never rewatch this episode. So now they have a conversation. They need to have a conversation with Dee.
Mm-hmm.
So they make their way over to Dee's apartment. And they go in, they talk to her, and they open the door, and they were like, Dee, listen, I know you think it's Charlie, but really, it's Dennis. And then Frank makes a joke about needing to take her down to Mexico.
Yeah, I don't know what the abortion laws are in Philadelphia in 2010 when this episode came out, but I did like the way Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I kept saying Philadelphia too.
Wait.
I've got Pennsylvania. Both in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
thank you. I did like the way Frank said it, though. He was like, we got to get that demon spawn out of there.
Oh, God. Yeah. And Frank's their father. Oh, my God.
Frank's their father.
Yeah.
And Dee and Dennis are not just siblings, they're twins. So, like,
Even
this is going to be
grosser.
a wreck genetically.
So, and then Dee is just like, look, guys, it wasn't any of you. And they were like, oh, what? And then she was like, it's not any of you. It wasn't Dennis. Calm the fuck down. Just because I went into the room with him does not mean we had sex. And they were like, oh, thank God. And she was like, but do you guys want to know who the father of the baby is? And they immediately were like, no, we do not give a fuck. It was only if it was us. Because remember, all of these characters are the worst versions of anybody that you could possibly meet. But still so fucking perfect.
And then as they leave, they're just calling out mean bird-related bullyings at Dee.
Oh, so sweet. So kind, these children.
Oh, what a stupid show. This is fun.
We love it.
And that's it. Like, roll credits.
Yeah. So good. I want to watch every episode on the Halloween list. I know we're not going to review them or talk about them, but the amount of fun I have had with each of these episodes has been
I know.
So beyond. And
this has been such a delight.
And as I've been saying, I don't know if we talked about, like, Kelly and I are going through a time. And
yeah,
these episodes have been at least giving me at least a little bit of shining light for a half an hour. Like, granted, some of them I don't get a watch. Like, I got to make an event of the Boy Meets World one. I got to make an event of the Bob's Burgers. I didn't get to make an event of this, but I got to put it in a time where it was, like, cathartic because it helped so much remove me from the awfulness that was my day when I watched it. And I was like, oh, thank God. And that is, in general, I know it doesn't have specifically to do with horror movies, but just in general, stories being able to take you out of the garbage that you're feeling, the garbage of everyday life. Halloween episodes are like top tier, the premium of anything in the world. And that's showing through and through. And I'm so happy that they made them. Next year,
totally
we'll do
agreed.
like the scariest fucking movies that you've ever seen.
No, let's not sign us up to what's happening next year. We don't know where we'll be emotionally, mentally, financially.
Hopefully we will be in a better place. So if we are in a better place, we will do scary. But for now, like, for those people who do want to watch stuff on Halloween, but don't want to fully don't want to shit themselves,
or like work very hard for it.
Yeah.
Like, these episodes are light,
so fun,
and you know,
get you in the spirit.
They're like 22 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're so short, and you don't have to like work very hard on conjuring up focus, and you don't have to like, I don't know. Yeah, like, this was a whodunit, but you don't have to try to guess who done it.
Yeah.
You can just let it unfold in front of you.
I was like, well, doesn't matter who did it. It's going to be weird no matter what. I was like, somehow I think it's going to end up being Dennis.
Let's just see where
I was
they're
more
taking
shocked
us.
that it wasn't at the end, but it was. I loved it. I loved the journey. Yeah, super good. Happy that we did it. It was just Halloween themed, not scary themed. So we'll probably, after next week's Halloween Tree is a little scary for a kids movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are parts that are a little scarier than I would have expected. And yeah, I am excited to talk about that. And yeah, after that, we'll tackle something a little more scary for you guys. I know that Kelly and I both saw Barbarian and we are super fucking psyched to talk about it. So hopefully we'll get to
for
talk about
you,
it soon.
listeners, for you, we are holding off so that we can talk about it for the first time on mic. And I am losing it. I want to talk to you about it so bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kelly doesn't even know if I liked it or not.
I don't. I mean, I think that.
I mean, you can have, you have like an idea, I'm sure, because you know me as a person. But do you know me well enough? Maybe I just have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of opinions about really shitty movies, a lot. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I just know that. So after I watched it, I texted you to let you know that I had watched it, and I shouldn't have tweeted my opinions because I know that those got back to you. But I don't think that I said them.
You said
in that
one
text
word. Oh, you didn't say them in the text. You basically said I watched it.
And I want to talk to you about it.
And that's it. And I was like, cool. I plan on watching it. And I want you guys to know, if you haven't captured this from this podcast, I'm a hypochondriac. We just went through a pandemic. I have seen one movie in the last 2 years in a theater. Now 2 movies. So this was the second movie I've seen. The last movie was Spider-Man. I don't regret it. I like Spider-Man. I'm glad
that you don't regret it. Yeah, I was just thinking that wasn't one.
But I had to wear wore like an N95 mask, and I had to go like middle of the week, middle of the day, in an entire family. Anyways, we don't have to talk about that experience. But when I went to Barbarian, I got to have that experience where I got to get a large popcorn and enjoy it and have that. Like, even I'm just gonna like take a minute to talk about how much I fucking love going to the movie theater.
Yeah, dude, I've got stuff to say on that too.
God,
yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Cried, like the feeling of sitting in a movie theater and like eating popcorn and just being in that moment. I hated so badly when the movie ended because I was like, "Oh, real world." You walk out, sun still shining, or whatever time you go. I like matinees. Sorry, don't judge me.
Oh no, I went matinee. Sun was still up for me. Yeah.
So I went out and I was like, "Fuck, real world, fuck." And I was like,
I so thought upset about staying to watch another, but it was a Friday night, and I was like, it's gonna get crowded. Busy. Yeah.
So I just felt like, I don't know. There's something about a movie theater that's so magical, and that is like one of the few places that is like a place where I feel at home. And if I had to choose the place to me that feels the most genuinely comforting, it would be a movie theater, time and time again. And I used to work at a movie theater for a couple of years, and that was my favorite job. Was it because I could go to movies for free? Maybe. Because I could eat unlimited amounts of popcorn.
Hurt. Certainly doesn't hurt.
But like just being, God, I didn't notice how much I missed the movies, but when I was in it for that time, I was just like, God, fuck. I love movie theaters so much.
And I like, oh man.
I also really love the coworkers I had at the movie theater. Sorry, I just want to drop that in there because I know some coworkers that still support me in life, and I really, really
you guys
love
like
them.
Genuinely hung out outside of work, and I thought that was really nice.
It was the place where I felt closest to the people there, and I still feel very close to more than a couple of the people I worked with. So anyway, sorry, just gonna.
Yeah, I haven't worked in a movie theater, but I do love them, and my connection to it goes back to I grew up in a town that was nothing at the time, and when I was in the 6th grade, they developed a section of town which is now called like Restaurant Row, I think, in Rogers.
Oh yeah.
So that was just field for most of the time that I like we took science class field trips there because my elementary school was across the street. So we would go over there.
Oh, you
and
went to Reagan? Was it Reagan?
I went to Reagan.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I went to
didn't know
Reagan
that.
Elementary School. Yep. And so we would go over there for science and like, I don't know, draw the bugs we saw or whatever. This was elementary school. Like we weren't learning large concepts. But the reason this is important is because I lived within walking distance of that. Like I walked to school. And so when they put in the movie theater and the Barnes and Noble,
God, that Barnes and
like,
Noble, it's still
when
there. So
I
I'm
had
happy.
money, that's where I was, you know, like I was at the movies or I was at Barnes and Noble. And so, man, yeah, like movie theaters were like my time to get out of the house and go like not be stressed for a minute, like just go and sit in a dark room and like I don't have to worry about performing my character and I can just watch what is happening and be unbothered for a moment.
Have you watched any spooky movies this season so far outside of
yeah, well, I guess not spooky movies. I did watch the Evan Peters Dahmer.
Oh, how was the entire thing?
Yep, watched the whole thing. And I started, is it called Queer for Fear?
Yeah, the Shudder documentary series.
The Shudder documentary series. I started it and I regret starting it, but listener, it's because it's too good.
Oh.
And there was only one episode out at the time. I didn't realize
That's
that it was
valid.
like being released serially.
Because that's
and so I
difficult.
watched one
And then you want
I had
more.
blue balls. Yeah.
mhm.
So like I was really enjoying it. I am absolutely going to finish it, but I need them to
I
finish
think
it first.
one of our Shooting the Shit episodes should be reviewing that because I'm definitely going to watch it.
I think so too. Yeah, loved that first episode. Learned a lot about Mary Shelley.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, dude, it's fun. I think you're gonna like it. Which is how I felt when I watched Barbarian.
I don't know why you would think that at all. I might completely hate it. I might be a contrarian.
Listener, she won't.
I won't. I mean,
While I was watching it, I was like, Chelsea's gonna eat
God
this.
damn it. You were fucking right. Just to give you guys a little preview, can we just I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing.
Okay.
Measuring for square footage. Did they listen to our podcast before making the fucking movie?
I know.
Did they? Because for that alone.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's fine.
Oh, you
the
guys,
movie was fine.
you guys go watch Barbarian.
Yeah, definitely watch
just
Barbarian.
so that you can go watch Barbarian. Go watch Barbarian.
We'll talk about it. We will 100% talk about it sometime soon.
Yeah. Yes. I think that is going to be our Shooting the Shit episode when we conclude our Halloween series. But next week, we will be discussing the Halloween Tree, which is animated. It's a cartoon from, I don't even know when it's from. It predates our childhoods, right?
Maybe.
Is it 90s? I feel like
It
I don't
might
know.
be
Maybe
late 80s. It might be late 80s.
might be.
Let me check. It should be. I'm just going to go really high pitched on this. I 93. So very early
93.
on. And
Oh yeah.
I had not seen it. And my Ryan was the one who introduced me to it. Because it is his
Whoa!
favorite. Yeah, I had not seen it as a child, and it's his favorite, and we watch it every year now because it's just such a
it's
sweet.
so good.
It's like it's everything that Halloween should be. So
Yes.
that's kind of why we're choosing this, is because it is.
It's spooky.
the
It's scary.
quintessential
It's
Halloween.
educational.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, it is super
about
educational.
the truth and beauty and friendship.
But it's
And
still
it's
a
about
little dark.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's so good. If you haven't seen it, absolutely go watch it.
I'm gonna check Just Watch.
I love that you didn't watch it until you were a grown-up, because like I loved it since I was a kid. So
But it still
it's hard for
slaps
me
for
to
an
say if it
adult.
still
It
stands up.
does.
Yeah, I love that you can bring that to the table. Ugh. Yeah, everybody go watch it. I have not read the story it's based on.
It's Ray Bradbury, so
I know that. Yeah, fuck me, Ray Bradbury, by the way. We talked about that in our last episode. I know that I posted that music video on Twitter. Go watch that. It's so funny. Yeah, I'm really excited to revisit this because I don't think that I've watched it since 2014.
Oh. Kelly also made fantastic cookies that were in the theme of this movie once. And we will post a picture of them whenever we do the episode.
Yeah, we will. Those were so fun.
They were the most amazing cookies. We couldn't eat them. We could not fucking eat them. We did end up eating
they also tasted good.
We ate one, I think, at the end, but like we could not eat them until they went bad because we couldn't stop looking at them. We couldn't stop looking at them. They were...
I was really proud of those. I was really proud of those.
Be. They were amazing.
We'll talk about that more next week. But in the meantime, you're pulling it up on Just Watch.
You can stream for free with ads on Tubi. You can rent from Apple TV, Amazon, or YouTube, or you can purchase from those as well. It is $3.99 to rent, $9.99 to buy on Amazon, and wait for it on YouTube. But if you buy it on Apple TV, it's $14.99. So I'm not going to tell you who to purchase it from. I'm just going to give you the information.
Damn, inflation. Got to Cartoon Network. Okay. But it's worth it. At least rent it. It's so fun. It's so cute. I think that if you like to revisit Hocus Pocus, go ahead and buy this, I think. Ooh, same level of like cozy creature comfort for me, those two. But I haven't seen the new Hocus Pocus. Anyway, I'm trying to wrap up the show. Focus up, Kelly.
Doing a great job.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This episode of Always Sunny was super fun, and we are going to keep watching the show, I think, and maybe we'll bring you up to speed on that every so often. But next week, we will be talking about The Halloween Tree, the animated movie. It's so fun. It's so worth it. If you have read the short story, write in and let us know what the cartoon gets wrong.
It's a full novel.
Oh, it's a full novel.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there goes my idea of trying to read it before next week.
There is an audiobook on Libby.
How long is it? No, let's wrap up the show and then we'll figure that out. Okay. So we will see you next week to talk about The Halloween Tree. R.I.P. Leonard Nimoy. In the meantime, please remember to rate and review us on iTunes. That would be super helpful. 5 stars, please. Just put like happy spookies in your review. You don't even have to be thoughtful about it. Just do like 5 stars, happy spookies, and sign off. And remember, you can find us on Twitter at NoShowMonster. You can email us at noshowmonster@gmail.com. If I get my shit together, we'll have a Tumblr, noshowmonster@tumblr.com. We'll find out.
Oh, and if you can't get enough of us, we are over at Debut Buddies, and I think we just released or are about to release the creepypasta, the first creepypasta. So keeping it creepy, please join us over there. We release on bi-weekly on Mondays, fortnightly on Mondays. And the first creepypasta is what we're going to discuss. It's called Ted the Caver. It's really creepy. Mm-hmm. It's really good. Check that out, and we'll see you over there as well as over here. Okay. Happy spookies. Happy spookies.